Thank you, Honourable Speaker, sir. I rise to deliver my response to the motion that is before the House, and that is the appropriation bill that includes the 2023-2024 national budget. From the outset, sir, there's been plenty of names that this budget has been labelled. The Labour Party leader calls this budget a flat budget. The Honourable Leader of Opposition this morning called it a microwave budget. But again, there's nothing new that the budget that was delivered by the Honourable Biman Prasad, given the Honourable Biman Prasad had been our opposition spokesman for finance in 2014 to 2015. After a while, in 2016, we had to remove him because he was not doing a good job. And we had brought in Honourable Asiriran Ronro during our time in Sundalpa to deliver the key opposition address. The budget is not only deceptive, but it's a deceptive budget by a very confused government. The platform that the Honourable Minister for Finance should have started with, to start with a mini budget that should have laid the platform for his national budget, but yet opted to redeploy funds from here and there, and that took away necessary services for other key areas such as agriculture, health, that this particular budget is trying to resolve. But again, the message in this particular budget, sir, it's very simple. The budget is trying to increase revenue, and at the same time it will increase the deficit, but no infrastructure. 72% of the budget, sir, is on operating expenditure. Only 28% is on capital expenditure. That is the reality of this particular budget and how it looks like. And the people will suffer more. Given it's a large spending budget, and it's the biggest budget deficit outside the pandemic, as I've said, and FijiFirst never took our debt to more than 10 billion even during the pandemic. It didn't take our debt to more than 10 billion during the pandemic. And this budget will set a new record in Fiji's overall debt. It will come to 10.5 billion in 2024. And who else has done that? It will be a record, Honourable Biman Prasad, that you have taken that. And people need to know that. And in the last quarter, it came out, the Minister of Finance quarter report, that the government during the first quarter from January to April has accessed around about 223.2 million in borrowings. That's by the coalition government themselves. And they are borrowing it at much a faster rate, 12.4% increase, more faster than the same period last year. And if that is allowed to go on, I don't know how much, how higher we will go in terms of our debt. But this debt theory put on by the government during campaign, that is there to try to scare people that the debt is really high. But if we put debt into perspective, most of our domestic debt are just with FNPF and other local debt that we have. And again, it helps investment through FNPF, where we loan from FNPF, government loans from FNPF, and when it repays back, it is benefited by those employees that have their funds at FNPF. And that is, it strengthens our economy because the money circulates locally. These are some of the things that, if you look at the budget that we have here, we have a deficit of 636 million. I asked the Honourable Biman Prasad, where we look at the deficit from. You loan again from FNPF. The very same institution that you used to say before, that we were killing, that the FijiFirst government was killing. The deficit of this particular budget will be funded again from our local institution, through our local debts that are there. But again, to the Honourable Biman Prasad is very fond of trying to compare the economic status during COVID, with the rate of GDP rate of debt per GDP. that is 88.8%. But before COVID, pre-COVID, it was 48.8% ratio. And that is where FijiFirst had been taking our economy to a booming stage, and that the amount of revenue that the FijiFirst government had, and at that time, pre-COVID, was 2.8 billion. And even last year, FRCS was able to collect 1.8 billion in revenue. And now you have a very ambitious budget in trying to put out that FRCS will try to collect 3.7 billion. That is I think they will not even reach their target, the target. And at the same time, the deficit will be there, you'll loan more, and there will be no development. What we were looking into, what people were expecting, where more investment will be there in the private sector. In terms of construction of roads, there's no capital expenditure here to say that there will be construction of roads or housing that will create employment, that people will work and also gain more income so that they can spend through their consumption. That will help in the economic spin. That is not the environment that is provided to by this particular budget. On the other hand, we also see that there is more duplication and wastage in this particular budget. On the one hand, you have PWD. On the other hand, you still have FRA. And I don't know what PWD will do. Probably soon it will turn into not only a public work department, we'll be doing some private work department too. These are some of the things that we really need to focus on and put money into areas that will really assist our people. The other thing that the other deception that's in this particular budget is the idea that if you increase or give a rise in VAT, will automatically generate more revenue. It will depend on the environment, sir, and also the consumer behavior on how they spend. Most of the listed items in the zero-rated items, most of them it was by FijiFirst, and only one additional that was prescribed medicine, but prescribed medicine was already free through the free medicine scheme by FijiFirst government. The people are limited with choices, given they would like to buy items that are outside of the zero-rated list that they would like to enjoy. But the rich people will be able to afford those the taxes that will be coming through VAT to 12%, and also it will be unfair for the poor people, that the rich people too will also benefit from the zero-rated. That will be the zero-rated on the list on zero-rated items. These are the few things that is there about this particular budget. The other thing that is there that we really need to look at is the argument put forward by the Honorable Biman Prasad that government is paying off debt. I think debt is always refinanced, and never at any time that FijiFirst has not serviced our debt. And during their time of government, it has serviced their debt, and never at any time that FijiFirst has defaulted in making debt repayments. These are some of the things that the people of Fiji need to hear, because these are some of the lies that are spread that puts that scary picture that FijiFirst has really taken this country down the path that they are trying to project. But what we wanted to see was the change of economic direction on moving in more investment into the private sector, and also in strengthening the various sectors that are related. We hear that the Honorable Minister for Tourism is trying to boast about tourism. I want to taking back to the last few years when we were talking about the Fiji Airways guarantee. When we were at this side of the house, the Honorable Minister for Tourism did not support that guarantee. If it was not for the FijiFirst government, if it was them, all our aeroplanes would have been sold or eaten. But we are thankful for the decisive leadership of the former Prime Minister and the former Minister for Economy that had enabled to keep and secure our airline industry. Because those that were relying on it, not only those that work in the tourism industry, but if you look down at the hotels got filled up, landowners will benefit through land rentals. These are some of the things that the leadership at that time, when they were in the opposition, they could not see. But they are trying to boast about that when they are now in government. Sure. The Honourable Minister for Tourism, in his speech, said that they're expecting a 8% increase economic growth, but to GDP. But let me take him back to the supplement. The supplement says at page number 4 at paragraph 1.3. Listen properly, Honourable Ngaboka. Following the strong recovery last year, the domestic economy is poised to grow further by 8% this year. And that is the recovery last year. And that is due to the strong economic recovery path that was laid down by the FijiFirst government. And that is not because of the last 6 months. It is because of the economical recovery policies that were laid down by FijiFirst post-pandemic that had led to these figures that will come up. And again, I reiterate the words of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, that you have inherited a better Fiji than the other government in the past. We've given you a developed Fiji. We've given you Fiji that is recovered from a pandemic. I don't know whether this government will I don't know whether this particular government will be able to manage the economy during a pandemic or no. I don't know whether this particular government will be able to manage our economy if they are hit by a tropical cyclone, category 5 cyclone. They don't have any plan. They don't have any plan. And this is the problem. The only plan that they had in their first budget when everybody was expecting more in growing out our economy, they put the burden to our people, for the poor to be more poor. That's the more. You didn't have new ideas on how to generate revenue, how to grow the economy. Nothing. And just to increase the bed. Just increase the bed. The Honourable Minister Itaukei, in his speech today, was talking about that most of our indigenous people in Itaukei, 70% are in poverty. And it's just inconsistent and contradictory with what the Honourable Prime Minister had said, that the measurement of poverty in our rural areas is quite different. Because people might not be earning income, but they are able to put food on the table because they have their subsistence economy. They do farming, they do fishing. So see, these are some of the things that the sweeping kind of comments by the Honourable Minister is not a reality. That's what's faced on the ground. The other thing, sir, that we'd like to look into is the increase in VAT. The increase in VAT, sir. The increasing VAT also threatens our foreign currency debt management. As inflation puts pressure on the Fijian dollar. It could be leading to devaluation and other increase in nominal value of debt obligation. These are some of the things that the Honourable Minister did not look into. One of the thing about foreign debt, that it should balance out with the foreign currencies that are coming in. And we had policies during the FijiFirst government through our Dovata initiative, with the Australian government through our BAM, where people go overseas and through the remittance they send money back. But now the policy is changing where they are taking their family to. So we should be seeing that in the future there will be less remittance that will be collected by Fiji, because people are moving out. And we cannot see anything in this particular budget that will create employment and force people to stay. Yes. There's nothing in this particular budget. There is no incentive to the private sector to create employment. So our people, we do not lose our people. Our brain drain and our skills drain overseas. These are some of the things that should have been in this budget, so that we can ensure that our economy is stronger and also more money is circulating through our people. Let me go into the Itaukei Affairs Ministry, sir. I see that the budget has increased from 14.3% in 2022 to 2023 to 38.6% in the 2023-2024 budget. 95% of the activities in that particular head in Sec 7 and Sec 9 are under requisition, under R.
Who controls that?
The Honorable Minister for Finance, upon the request of the Minister. But again, what I was looking at is the, more innovation in terms of the policies that should have come in, that should have moved our Itaukei institution to a more fully autonomous and self-funded and self-governed. And these are some of the things that we should have seen it coming. Rather than putting more money into areas that were not properly researched. More model we can get around from the PNG, MRTC model, where landowners are partnering with government in terms of their resources. These are some of the economic models that we have. Nothing in this budget will empower or empower landowners in terms of climate change or moving into carbon trading. The model that's currently used by the Maori Land Commission in terms of buying credits with the landowners in Fiji, I think we have not taken advantage of that. The other thing that we see in the Ministry of Itaukei budget is the economic development per province. I would like to suggest that we look into a more better model that not only centers wealth through the province, but trickle down to the Tikina, to the Evusa, and to the Matangali, and right into the Tokotoka, where most of them are registered land owners. And the model that it was started by the Honorable Prime Minister back then through the commercial loan scheme, I think it only centers around the wealth centers around the provincial council, and most of the provincial council companies now are still holding onto assets and the business that should have benefited those Volikaumbula members. We see the allocation of a village improvement scheme in that particular, and we look forward for that implementation in various villages, and also buildings and structures to be constructed that are category 5 or cyclone resistance. We see the Itaukei Land Development Grant that is there with the Minister of Itaukei Affairs. It used to be with Economy before, Ministry of Economy. But what we would like to ensure that the Minister looks into other specialties like surveys, those that will do the scheme plan, plus other things that will help the applicants. Most of the applicants, they fail to meet the requirement because they don't have the funding to engage surveys and all that, if the requirements can be lowered a little bit. The other thing that we see that is that there is a new allowance for the Turangani Abusas. The biggest question by some of the landowners in Vonoleu, why didn't you include the Turangani Matangali and Turangani Tokotoka, only the Turangani Abusa? Why? Because most of them, Turangani Matangali or the Matangalis, they have more land mass than the Turangani Abusa. Why you are only focusing on the Turangani Abusa? When the obligations, the Itaukei obligations, they do funeral and other lotu obligations that at Matangali level and Tokotoka level. The other thing that people are asking, Honorable Minister for Biman, if the GCC had approved $200 for that allowance, why did you reduce it to $100? This is a common question that are coming from the honorary Fijians, the natives. So you have to tell them why you reduce it, because if the GCC had approved $200, why you had to reduce it to $100? The other thing, sir, that the Attorney General and the Great Council of Chiefs, and the big blunder that he did when he had not introduced the given the GCC was abolished, and he should have introduced a bill in the House in order for the GCC to be the authority for the GCC to sit. I think this is the big blunder, and I urge the Honorable Prime Minister, due to the few legal blunders that the Honorable Attorney General has done so far, that has really threatened his leadership in terms of his decision, and given that this legal advice has come from him, to change the Attorney General. And I I call on the Prime Minister to do a quick reshuffle, and the Honourable Philemon Pasuro could be a better Attorney General. Could be a better
Minister Pakistan.
Or the Honourable Linda Tambuya is a better Attorney General. These are some of the. But these are a few things about the budget, and we look forward for. Who is fighting?
Otherwise, you will feed yourself more.
All right. This is the budget that has been put forward by this particular government. Again, it's a painful budget, sir, by a very confused government. I don't know whether they'll be able to collect the revenue that they're projected to collect, and they increase debt, and people will suffer more in this country because of the policies that this particular government has put forward through this budget. So, sir, I will not support the budget. And again, because it's anti-people and it's anti-poor.
I think